Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Again, it's Nick Brown and Bashir Fancy discussing a very important topic we touched on, and we'll broaden that, and which was about cybersecurity. Now, as Nick will tell you, he was at Visa also, and he had a lot of input into, did a lot of work around that. I had originated the compliance PCI, and the a lot of people worked on it, but the key point, and the reason we want to talk about is we have some serious challenges around security today, serious. And we think that because we operate in silos, we are dealing with it, but we're not, because there's a big problem. And both of us, having come from that background of payment system and in the type of detail and knowledge and experience that is not easy to match, I can promise you. And it's not because we're trying to talk about ourselves. And Nick can say exactly that. So, Nick, one of the problems right now with cybersecurity is that when we talk about end-to-end, in the last thing I talked about the fact that head of security was using Alexa to put the volume down when he was in confidential conversation with me, which is ridiculous, but that's what is happening. We don't have the skill sets, so they are lost in most part, or they're leaving, right? And if the banks or whoever companies insist that people go 4 or 5 days back to work, they're going to lose some people who can quit the job, will quit the job. The guys who remain are the guys who can't find another job, right? You and I both know that.
Yes.
Historically, that's we've been proved. You're doing different things. I've done different things because you know that you can go do stuff because you know your abilities. And a lot of people, so that is another challenge. What are the other areas you see? Because this is a global problem now.
Yes, it is. And I think a lot of people are becoming aware of the need for and the risk of and the need for security, the way that a lot of companies just didn't even pay attention to a decade or so ago. It's a lot more visible now. And the reality is that different industries need different levels of security. Bashir and I, we work in payment processing, which needs about the highest level of security you can possibly imagine.
Right.
And as Bashir mentioned, he originated the entire industry's security standards. That's staggering to me. And I've been involved in writing them as well. And there's a very interesting component in that. This was at the Accredited Standards Committee's X9 F6 working group. And the tagline at the time was for data at rest and data in motion. We didn't deal with the data at rest at all. We only dealt with the data in motion because transactions are going between maybe 5 different systems around the world and back again. And so we were focusing on how do we secure it as it's in motion. Other people are far better at looking at it and focused on securing servers, securing a data center. We didn't worry about that part because they were dealing with it. But it's important in your industry to understand what kind of security risks there are and where are the vulnerabilities. And that's going to even change within your company as well. Different people are going to have different levels of obligation and different security concerns. And one of the things you mentioned, Bashir, is when people are working from home, that's changed the equation. Are you aware of the security risks involved? Doesn't mean you can't do it, but you just need to be careful of this on how to do it.
Yes.
And as an example, it's not really a recent one. This is from years back. Because of the industry that I'm in, when we were able to log into the system from home 20 odd years ago, the requirements around that were stringent because of the risks involved. You didn't just log in, you had to jump through hoops to be able to do it. And actually, even at that point, most of the terminals were directly connected to the machine because they didn't want it to be connected even through an intranet. That was too risky at the time as well. So every industry is different, but you've got to take this seriously.
You know, one of and you talked about, absolutely, we had multiplexers and all sorts of things in the middle, right? I still remember, and you couldn't go in, you couldn't get to the system unless physically connected and you had your IDs. But now take a look at it. You work in a big company, you were given a laptop that's imaged that is actually imaged and you get it, you can't add anything to it. Well, that's thrown out of the window because you can't do that when the guy is working from home for the last 2 years or more. How do you handle that? So the guy's got music on this, he's got whatever, he may be watching YouTube or going to sites that, so it becomes very tricky in terms of trying
to. It does. And the reality was when COVID hit, everyone was working from home. We just sort of winged it for a while and hoped for the best. And that's fair enough. But this is a long-term way of life now for businesses. And it's time to take a step back and go, let's look at security now. Let's take this seriously. Let's look at what we need to be doing for our key employees. Like the tech people, they need the highest level of security because they are in the guts of our intellectual property. The salespeople, not so much necessarily. You can adjust for it. But working from home is a reality of life now for almost every company out there. And now it's time to take a step and look at the security of people working from home.
Correct. Is the life cycle, are you protecting it? Any one hole somewhere and you're not secure. And the problem is security is not the overlaying feature, it's one off. So, I used to talk about this at Visa and elsewhere, is that I'm glad this is the role I have, because if I was one off here or anybody else is in that position, I mean, think about it. Privacy reports somewhere else, security reports somewhere else, and you're trying to bring, and now they are all working from home. Even if they're coming one day to the office, privacy has the compliance, the rules, whatever. The system side and the security side has to implement that. How closely are they aligned or talking to each other? And I can give you examples of.
Well, and one example that you've said is that when you were brought back for the second time into Visa, that you were in charge of security. You didn't report to someone in the hierarchy. You didn't even report to the CEO. You reported to the chairman. That's how security should be looked at.
Yeah.
Oversight over everybody, including the CEO.
And I had the internal audit as well. So
exactly,
it allowed me to and I think that's the problem. Now, I know we've gone slightly over the 6-7 minutes we're doing, but we can park and we can drill down again on this thing, because it's a very, very important topic. Fraud is getting out of hand. I see people come on every time there's an incident, some people get on the TV to talk about stuff, and I'm just looking at it saying, yeah, don't tell me about symptoms. What are the root causes? Are we addressing the root causes? The answer is we're not, right? We are.
Yeah. There's a lot we can get into on this, and
Correct.
This is going to be this particular topic is going to be a fun series.
We can do more, almost an hour type thing, because you are 100% correct.
Yeah.
That some of the videos we did in the webinars during the big ones that was done a couple of years ago is there, because
yes, it's like an hour and a half on one topic.
Hour and a half, because it's not a topic, and only people who are interested can, at least through this short video here, that there are big challenges. And it doesn't matter how small you are. Don't assume that you are not at risk.
Yes.
And this is you got countries involved. Like, we hear that somebody was interfering in the election and they've thrown them out of Canada and whatever. The truth is, nobody's innocent. Not Canada, not US. Everybody's spying on everybody. Everybody's interfering in everybody's system. The question is, we are upset when our systems get attacked, right?
Yes.
And our businesses. And okay, I understand. I agree with you. But then be careful that you are very, very ironclad. You have the ironclad security in place. And you have the people who are doing it are not the guy who was working for intelligence and he put his laptop in the car and went to see the hockey game downtown. Okay, I mean, you have to start wondering, does people understand what security is? So,
well, and looking forward to talking more on this.
Yeah, we're going to do that. That's fantastic, Nick. Thanks again.
All right, Bashir.
And we'll continue this series. Cheers.
Okay.